Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Live Baltimore Presents. I am Baltimore, and today I am bringing you X-Men Grand Design Second Genesis. So that is this really beautiful comic book that just came out. It's really great. I'm actually also wearing the original. Da da da! So this is Ed Piskor's version of Art Adams' version of what I'm putting on right now, which is the First Class plus Havoc and Polaris, and the Second Genesis, which is all new, all different X-Men. So this is also the other cover I got because I just can't help myself. Got to get them all. So this basically covers what happens in Giant Size X-Men, where the introduction of all new, all different X-Men. From there until the end of the Dark Phoenix saga. So it's about 50 or so issues, give or take, 40-something issues, that they delve into that he masterfully recreates and retells, which is really, really fascinating and fun, because it gives you a little bit better understanding of the history of the X-Men. And, that's something that Ed Piskor is really great at. It's kind of condensing and telling, a grand history in a new kind of way, with his, very particular style of artwork, and storytelling. And I think he's been very successful. The first two issues, which told from the beginning of X-Men till the end of when they started going to reprints. It told that story, and I thought it was done very well. I really loved it, and this is no exception. And there's some really great moments in there too. They talk about how it's been 27 months since the X-Men were kind of active or whatever, and that's kind of a nod to the 27 issues that they took a hiatus for before they came back with the all new, all different X-Men, and that's from X-Men 66 to X-Men 94. So it's kind of a cool little nod to, okay, there's been a reason why they haven't been seen and what's happened to them in between. Even though we have gotten stories with them in the Avengers, with Amazing Fantasy, with Beast. So it's been kind of like a fun, jaunt into seeing how this all came about. But I really, really do love it. And Ed Piskor's take on this is kind of really delving with the Phoenix Force. And of course, now this is where this becomes really, really important, because in X-Men 100, Jean Grey sacrifices herself for the X-Men, and we didn't know it at the time, but made a bargain with the Phoenix Force, saved the X-Men, and because of the damage that she sustained, went into a cocoon in the bottom of Jamaica Bay to restore herself. And Phoenix took on her essence and continued, being a member of the X-Men. So it's really kind of fascinating because, back in the first two issues of X-Men Grand Design, the Phoenix is kind of ever-present force going on. And, the original thought from the Shi'ar, who are part of, the whole Phoenix mythos, is that it was going to go with Xavier. And, that didn't happen. Obviously, it went to Jean Grey because of her empathic abilities. And it was really kind of a fun way to see it all go about, how it all happened. You have all these great stories about when the X-Men first got together, when they finally joined up with, when they defeated Krakoa, which was the island that had captured the original X-Men and was the reason why Xavier brought in the all-new, all-different team. So it's a really cool recreation of that storyline, getting them together, and kind of all the seeds that are planted by the original run, we get to see kind of play out in a nice, different way with a little more context. This is specifically with Wolverine, with Storm and Jean, and with Cyclops. So it's a lot of fun kind of elements there, because of course now that we're so far removed from the original telling of these stories, we can kind of add in those little bits and pieces that kind of enhance the story for people. And this is absolutely a fantastic book for people who are interested in the X-Men but kind of don't know much about it. Definitely get them these books, because it'll really help them understand the story and kind of give you a better understanding of why the X-Men exist, what their purpose is, and their whole story. It was very, very popular, and it allowed for the X-Men to become the force that they are. And then you have that classic panel where Jean actually becomes the Phoenix, and I have to show it to you because it's just brilliant and beautiful. Um, right there, I am the Phoenix, and I mean, I understand his artwork isn't for everybody. I really do love it. I really love the detail that he puts into every single panel, and the way he's laid it out, and the way that he's made the story unfold is really, really beautiful. It's really great. And also, like, it also has those classic the feel, like the paper is even kind of aged as well. And I talked about that before, and I really love that kind of small detail that really enhances the story and the book itself. It's kind of a very, very fun um, added feature. And then so it keeps going through the story. It talks about Banshee with his cousin Black Tom Cassidy and Juggernaut. That kind of story was really fun to see unfold again. And they also bring in Alpha Flight when they wanted Wolverine because he was their property. The Canadian government wanted Wolverine back. So that was kind of a fun little take as well because I love those characters, and seeing them here again was really, really fun. And then like the overarching storyline with the Hellfire Club is really super important, and it's kind of seeded a little bit before we became aware of it in the original, telling of this story. And it kind of makes a little more sense with Sebastian Shaw, with the White Queen, Donald Pierce, all of that kind of element and uh, seeding those characters in really enhances the story and gives us a little better understanding about what was going on while the X-Men were doing this or that, and how it kind of really made the story kind of more intricate. And you have a classic moment when the X-Men are separated. Beast and Jean Grey are separated from the rest of the X-Men, and both groups think the other group is dead. And the other X-Men, which is Cyclops, Storm, Colossus, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Banshee, they all have to tunnel their way out of this big, after a big fight with Magneto, they have to tunnel their way out, and Beast and Jean have escaped another way. And Beast and Jean go back to Xavier and say the X-Men are dead. And it's heartbreaking, because at this moment, both teams think that the other are dead, and it's really kind of a powerful moment. And Xavier gives up, and he's having these visions of Lilandra, who's the Shi'ar Empress. So it's a really kind of neat way that they kind of put things together and made them really, really resonate. And of course, they come back together, and it's the love of Jean and Scott, and it's really beautiful. And then you have all these really, really other great moments where you see the manipulation of Jean Grey, or who we think is Jean Grey, the Phoenix, by the Hellfire Club, the Inner Circle, and all of those kind of machinations come to the forefront with the Phoenix Saga and the Dark Phoenix Saga, and it's really incredible. And the Dark Phoenix Saga was probably one of my first real introductions to the comics. I got the collection, and I read that again and again and again because it was so powerful and it was so compelling and so interesting. All the layers, all the subtext, all the story going on was just, it was Chris Claremont at prime almost. Like that storytelling was just incredible. And of course, the story deviated a little bit. I'm sure you probably have heard, but the original story had Jean living. At the end of the Phoenix Saga, she was supposed to live and be separated from the Phoenix Force and not have her powers. But Jim Shooter, who was the editor at the time, decided, okay, Jean Grey actually just murdered 1 billion people. She can't get off scot-free. There has to be consequences. And he made them rewrite the end of that book and made her die and sacrifice herself again because she couldn't live with the consequences of what the Phoenix did. And that was groundbreaking at that point. It was an original X-Man died for real, as due to consequences of her actions, and it was powerful, and it was incredibly moving because it had such ramifications and so many things that happened because of that. And this landmark storyline was just so powerful. Um, and the other things that Dark Phoenix Saga is famous for is because it has the introduction of Dazzler, Lover, and the introduction of Kitty Pryde, with also the introduction of Emma Frost as well. So we have all those elements and new stories and characters that become a vibrant part of the X-Men mythos in this Dark Phoenix Saga, which is about 8 or 9 issues collected. And it's just so powerful, so amazing. You have all the Starjammers, you have the Imperial Guard from the Shi'ar, and they have that big fight at the end on the moon for the life of Jean Grey. And it's so powerful. And Ed Piskor has done a very fantastic job, a really great job of condensing all these stories, these, hundreds of issues into kind of a manageable, digestible, coherent story, which I'm, give high praise to because it's not an easy feat. And, when people ask me, oh, how do you feel about the X-Men? How do you kind of understand it all? And it's like, you just kind of have to get into it. And, I really wish I would have had something like this when I was growing up and getting into them because it makes it a lot more easy to understand, the characters and the relationships and the interconnectedness of it all. But this is fantastic work. It's really great. You should absolutely check this out. Get it in the comics now. I cannot praise this book enough. I cannot wait for the next issue because I can't wait to see. I know what happens, but I can't wait to see how he recreates all of this. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear how you are liking Second Genesis, the X-Men Grand Design. What are you thinking about Ed Piskor's new work? Let me know in the comments below. I will come back again as soon as the next issue is out and give you my thoughts on it again. But as always, it's all geek to us, and I will see you soon.